the court. Among them was the Earl Bothwell, who tried at first to drive Morton out, but in the end was obliged himself to flee. Some of these men let themselves down by ropes from the outer windows. When the uproar and confusion caused by this struggle was over, they found that Mary, overcome with agitation and terror, was showing symptoms of fainting again, and they concluded to leave her. They informed her that she must consider herself a prisoner, and setting a guard at the door of her apartment, they went away, leaving her to spend the night in an agony of resentment, anxiety, and fear. Lord Darnley took the government at once entirely into his own hands. He prorogued Parliament, which was then just commencing a session, in his own name alone. He organized an administration, Mary's officers having fled. In saying that he did these things, we mean, of course, that the conspirators did them in his name. He was still but a boy, scarcely out of his teens, and incapable of any other action in such an emergency but a blind compliance with the wishes of the crafty men who had got him into their power by gratifying his feelings of revenge. They took possession of the government in his name, and kept Mary a close prisoner. The murder was committed on Saturday night. The next morning, of course, was Sunday. Melville was going out of the palace about 10 o'clock. As he passed along under the window where Mary was confined, she called out to him for help. He asked her what he could do for her. She told him to go to the Provost of Edinburgh, the officer corresponding to the mayor of a city in this country, and ask him to call out the city guard and come and release her from her captivity. "Go quick," she said, "or the guards will see you and stop you." Just then the guards came up and challenged Melville. He told them he was going to the city to attend church, so they let him pass on. He went to the provost and delivered Mary's message. The provost said he dared not, and could not, interfere. So Mary remained a prisoner. Her captivity, however, was of short duration. In 2 days Darnley came to see her. He persuaded her that he himself had nothing to do with the murder of Rizzio. Mary, on the other hand, persuaded him that it was better for them to be friends to each other than to live thus in a perpetual quarrel. She convinced him that Ruthven and his confederates were not, and could not, be his friends. They would only make him the instrument of obtaining the objects of their ambition. Darnley saw this. He felt that he, as well as Mary, were in the rebels' power. They formed a plan to escape together. They succeeded. They fled to a distant castle, collected a large army, the people everywhere flocking to the assistance of the Queen. They returned to Edinburgh in a short time in triumph. The conspirators fled. Mary then decided to pardon and recall the old rebels, and expend her anger henceforth on the new, and thus the Earl Murray, her brother, was brought back and once more restored to favour. After settling all these troubles, Mary retired to Edinburgh Castle, where it was supposed she could be best protected, and in the month of July following the murder of Rizzio, she gave birth to a son. In this son was afterward accomplished all her fondest wishes, for he inherited in the end both the English and Scottish crowns. End of Chapter 7. Rizzio. Recording by Katie Riley, January 2009.